Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Gimme the Check podcast. I'm your host, Fredy V. Thank you for tuning in. My next guest, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say, this is like my bro. I kind of feel like we kind of came up together because I'm realizing now as I'm like doing this right now that it's been years that like it's been like more than 5 years that we've been in the same circles. This guy has been so supportive of my endeavors, and he just released his album called Everything Has Its Time, and it is doing fantastic. This dude is a MC. This dude is a bass player, my brother in bass, and he's also a producer. He is a staple on Canada's brand new black radio show that is national called The Block. Shout out to Angeline and CBC. Everybody, y'all are doing great work. I want you guys to please show some love for the one and only Milla Thyme. What up, homie? Hey. Looking fresh to the mug, bro. Go ahead, dog. Man. Well, it's been like a year I haven't seen you, man. I think it's been like legit. I don't think I've seen you since like put my eyes on you. Like,
yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, man.
Yeah. COVID.
COVID indeed. So I just, besides podcasts and all that, just as brothers, I'm happy to see you, man.
Likewise, my man.
Man, it's really good to see you.
Yeah.
And congratulations, bro, man.
You.
The record.
Thank you.
The record's deep, man. Like musically speaking and whatnot. And dude, and I know that this was a long time in the making. This was almost due. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was
like,
definitely due.
Man, so how you feel, man? Tell me how you feeling right now.
I feel great. I feel like with every one of the titles of my records, it kind of reflects like a mantra, like that I try to live by. So with the first EP, Eternally the Student, that's a lifestyle. Same with Everything Has Its Time. That's a lifestyle. And with this record, it's kind of like, you put 150% in, no shortcuts, and I'm extremely proud of the work I put in, and I'm happy with the reception and the fact that it's resonating with so many people, and it goes to show how spiritual music can really be.
No doubt. That's exactly what I feel as well, too, and it's just so cool. That's why I think that you're like the perfect guest because, this is Give Me the Check podcast. I want to kind of shine a light on the world of R&B that's coming from Montreal and that whole entire community, but that goes hand in hand with hip-hop.
Yeah,
like hip hop and R&B are like two play cousins. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like this. I was like, I need to get an MC perspective. And, we've shared so many stages together.
That's
you
right.
and I, man, freestyling our asses off and singing and spitting bars at the cypher. Bars. Shout out to Urban Science, man, because we really put in some work out there.
Oh, yeah, we did.
So, yeah, man. So, let's go ahead and rewind. I think there's some stuff I know, and I think there's some stuff I don't know, so I'm really excited about. We're going to go back.
All right, let's go.
Take me back to the Greater Toronto, the GTA, the Greater Toronto area.
Okay.
And your childhood, where you were born, where you're from, and like what was that like with you, and how did music like kind of come into your world when you were on the come up in Toronto?
So I'm like a real Toronto cat, like not GTA, like for real.
Okay. Oh, my bad. I mean,
not Scarborough, not Thornhill.
My fault. No, Mississauga, my fault.
It's all good.
I didn't want to discriminate. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to get the whole area. You know what I'm saying?
No, I gotta set the record straight though, because I was born like what would be called like technically Little Italy, so close to College and Bathurst, and born at Mount Sinai Hospital. July 27th, 5:23 a.m., 1990. Shortly after that, we moved actually to right around Vaughan and Oakwood. Shout outs to Midtown, Uptown, I don't even know. Toronto's so big now.
Yeah, it is.
And then after that, from around 4 years old, been in Parkdale ever since. Grew up in a very, I grew up in the theater. That's what my folks did.
Really?
My mom was a set and costume designer, and my dad's a playwright. So I grew up being exposed to lots of theater, lots of stages, lots of performances. I spent a lot of time in the prop shop when I was younger, and that was the basis. That was like the pot, and then after that, all the ingredients were added. That's my family, and I guess my first musical memory from what my dad tells me is that he brought me to a party when I was like 2-3 years old, and he held my hand going to the party, and he said as soon as the music came on, like my eyes lit up, and I had the biggest smile on my face. And he told me, well, he told himself, he was like, this boy's gonna do music. And sure enough, here we are.
Word.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm gonna have to press rewind on that because your father's a playwright.
Yes.
And your mom was always in theaters with sets and costumes. So the stage is like.
I was never
stage-
afraid of it.
You're never afraid. Yeah, man. Wow. I really relate to that because, like, for me, musical theater was actually a huge part
Straight up.
of my come up. Like,
Yeah.
that's how why I'm not afraid of the stage. It wasn't like music. It was musical theater.
Musical theater is such a it's such an important training ground for so many different people. Like my mom, she used to work at Sheridan College in Oakville, so there were all these classic musicals that I got to see as a very young child, and just seeing the choreography, the dancing, the costumes, it really influenced me, probably in ways that I don't even realize. But that's how my parents met, you know, through musical theater in Miami, where they both studied. Actually, my mom was a TA and my dad was a student. So my dad had some game, you know. He was spitting games to TA.
Go ahead, Papa Miller. Go ahead. No.
Yeah. So, and then when my mom moved to Toronto, he moved not soon after. So musical theater, you know, I owe a lot to it.
My God.
So
I did not
see
notice.
you.
See?
Yeah.
Yo,
I see you.
that's deep. And so, like, how do you think that your father being a playwright influenced? Because for me, you tell me that, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I've known you for a few years, but yeah, that makes sense now. You know what I'm saying? So, how do you think that influenced your writing? Because, you know, bro, you're a prolific writer. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm kind of getting it now, but maybe there's a side of it that, you know, or is it something that you think that was handed to you, or is it something that's more innate and, you know, maybe you just guys, it's a gene, it's a writing gene, or
maybe.
how do you think that connects?
I think there's a few different things. I think he never gave anything easy to me, that's for sure. You know, meaning that I had to earn the respect, you know, like I had to work for it, you know. It wasn't like, oh, that was good, son. It's like, no, you can do better. You know, that's your first draft. Like, what do you mean you're finished? You better write that like 3 next times, boy. You know, like it has to be good. Like I remember there was this skateboarding project that I had, and I thought in the first draft I could, you know, sneak it past him. And so he says, boy, come here. And I'm standing next to him the whole time and he's rewriting my project, you know, cussing me out, you know, being like, you know, what were you thinking, you know, trying to get this past me? You know, I'm a writer, right? And yeah, so and in a lot of ways, like he really, because he grew up in a certain time in the States, there's a certain mentality and philosophy towards music that he imparted on me. And I feel like that's what I carry with myself, more than the writing. It's more like you have to live your craft and you have to be excellent at it. There's just no easy way around it, and you just have to do it because, you know, you go stateside, everybody is just so nasty with it because there's that culture, you know. The black church, you know, as you know, is responsible for most African American based music, and with that there's a certain culture of excellence, very low key excellence. You go to a lot of churches and everybody's just that good, but that's the way it is. You're brought up in that, and so he really tried to instill that in me. And later when I started playing in church here in Montreal, I understood that more. But definitely the mentality of being 100% or else not doing it, it was definitely something I carry with me.
That's dope. Shout out to Pops. I really like that. I like
Love
that
you, Dad.
attitude, you know, because that we see that, you know, especially when it comes to like black fathers and black sons and things like that. We see that in sports.
Yeah.
You know, ball being tough love, tough heart, you know what I mean, and whatnot. But sometimes we don't see that when it comes to education and writing and other aspects like that. You know what I'm saying? So for your father to have that type of like Mamba mentality on you, but when it came to the pros, that's special, bro. That's special.
Definitely.
And I can like really like now it's like it all makes sense to me now. You know what I'm saying? Like that's dope. That's really cool, man. So like you said that your father said that he knew you were going to be a musician when your eyes lit up when you guys were at a jump off, right? So when did you know? Like, what's like your a musical memory that you have where you were just like, okay, like I need to do this, or that brought you in it, or that was just kind of a game changing moment for you? Did you have an aha moment by any chance?
It's hard to say because just music really always it hit me, you know, in a different way, and it connected with my soul from a very young age. I remember going to visit family where my mom's from on the West Coast, and just being very young and another jump off, and there was like happened to be a bonfire, and folks were playing drums, and something about it just, you know, I started to just get into it. And actually, drums were my first instrument when I was 11.
Word.
Because there's just something about rhythm that I love, you know, and it's inescapable. It's a part of me. So drums were my first instrument, but in my neighborhood, I didn't have anybody to play with. I had a drum teacher. She was my neighbor. She was the sweetest lady. And I got her patterns that she gave to me, you know, in a few weeks. And after that, I had no one to play with. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I won't play drums. I don't have a drum set. And then high school, I was 15 and I saw the bass, picked it up, and I was like, yo, the bass.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
it. That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Milla Thyme is who I call my brother in bass. Okay, like, you know that I'm doing the mood board right now for my studio that I'm gonna build and all
Okay.
that, and I'm really,
Snap.
I'm really visualizing that shit. And you know what I want to do? I want to have like a mosaic or like a pantheon of all the great bass player vocalists.
Ooh,
The
okay.
bass players that fronted, like
Yeah.
Richard Bonin, Esperanza Spalding,
Yeah.
Rick James, Sting.
Sting, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Sting is so underrated too.
Yo, Steve is bad. Sting is bad. Like on the
Sting-
bass, like he's a writer producer and he's known for that. And but Sting
He
is
throws
like-
down.
Sting throws down on the bass. Who else? Oh my God, I'm blanking. My brother's gonna kill me. That band Level 42.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name,
I
dude?
forget
Yeah,
his
dude.
name.
Oh my God, I forget his name. I'm so bad. Here we go, me forgetting another reference, but I'll get you back on that. And yeah, and just all the cats that did it. So when I met you, you know what I mean? I was just like, hold up, this dude plays bass and flows. So like we nerded out a lot on that, you know,
Yeah,
and even
yeah,
like some
yeah.
of this and what it is to front your own project,
Yeah.
when you hold it, when you put it down, and like, all these different aspects, and we collect a lot on that. So like, yeah, first, okay, before the bars, we'll talk about the bass. We're gonna talk about bass and bars. So
Yeah.
bass first. How did that come into your life exactly? And man, you gotta tell me how, man.
Yeah,
because it's like you got bass skills, hip hop skills, and jazz theory.
Yeah.
Like how, bro?
Yeah. Well, I'd say I was always really, just in general, like for the most part, I'm pretty disciplined. And so when I saw the bass, like I really liked it. So I was really serious, like from the jump. And musically, what I was listening to at that time was not any of the music I listen to now, but Rage Against the Machine. Shout outs to Rage Against the
Shout out
Machine.
to that Zach De La Roca, okay?
Yo, all
Trust
day.
me, man.
Tom on bass.
Yeah.
And Red Hot Chili Peppers. So shout outs to Flea. So that was what I was listening to at the time, you know, 13, 14. I wasn't hip to like hip hop and jazz and soul and gospel.
That's just like me, bro.
You know, you feel me?
Bro, I was playing Green Day.
Yo,
I was playing Green
Yo,
Day with the
Blink
bass,
182,
with the bass
with
on
the
it,
pick.
with the pick and the bass on it. This is my brother in bass, y'all.
Yo.
Okay, like, and it's true. And the thing about it is, like, yeah, me too. Like, I wasn't like exposed to, you know, the brothers and all that. And
Yeah.
that's what was in front of me. That was the opportunity that I had, and those were the kids who were around me. And that was the music they were playing. So I was like,
Exactly. It was just by synthesis, right? And by being in the environment. And that's what it was for me. And then in high school, that's where you're exposed to a lot of music class. And so after that, I discovered hip hop. You know, I saw the guys ciphering and I was like, what's that? You know, they're like, yo, we're ciphering. Yo, come in. And then the two kind of became one. And it was interesting because I always did both. It wasn't like I did one or the other. So, I'd be ciphering during the guys at lunchtime. Then I have music class, play bass, a little bit of saxophone. And then I take extra theory lessons at the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto. And that's where I did extra theory lessons and had this rock band jam class where it was like ensemble playing. So I was like 16 doing all that, and then putting in my hours, 3 to 4 hours a day after school and doing all that and trying to just really be open to anything and everything, just any chance I could like to play and, yeah, that's what it was.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And it's funny because sometimes, when you see an artist that does multiple things, that plays multiple instruments or does one thing and another and whatever, sometimes you can kind of tell what the day job is, the A game is, and whatnot. But you're telling me right now that like, no, you went in 10 toes down with both.
With both. Yeah. It was like, sure, I didn't know at the time how to put the two together, but the two I love doing. Me and my homies, we had a few rap groups, like everybody in high school, and we would organize underage shows, underground parties, and we'd be throwing jams like all over the city. But at the same time, I'd still be studying on my bass and, bringing my theory book to my hip hop workshop and doing that in between, because I was like, if I'm going to want to do it, I got to be serious about it. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at a disciplined man. This is okay. I'm kind of scared because that's the thing. Like when I was at that time, I was kind of like, garage band on the weekends with the friends, and I was in jazz band class all the time and whatnot. But I still kind of like wanted to be cool. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like,
of course.
I still wanted to chill.
Of course.
I still want to hang out. But you kind of talking to me. I was just like, you kind of making me feel guilty right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I should have worked harder.
No, because I hid like the bass from like the hip hop friends. They didn't really know like I played it that much. So it was kind of like I kept it a little separate because I wanted to be cool too. Shit.
Bro, I'm getting a screenplay writer in here very soon. We could do a TV show, movie, short. Like, oh man. Like, I just totally see you like as a kid just being like, all right, boom, it's cypher time. It's hip hop time. It's time for bars and whatnot.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, I'm in it. And then afterwards being like, yo, it's conservatory time.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
jazz time and whatever. And it's kind of almost two different worlds. And like you said, it's meaning it. So that being said, when did those two kind of start coming together? Where you started making sense? Because for me, I can really relate to that. I there were no R&B singers around me. It was just I knew how to beatbox. And I knew how to sing. So I was like, when there was another beatbox, if I wanted to get in, I had to learn how to flow.
Yeah.
So I was like, sink or swim, dog, go. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. And that's how I can stand next to a Milla Thyme at the cypher and actually have the audacity to freestyle. You know what I'm saying? Because like I know that there's still work put in. But like, that world was separate from me being with my brother in the garage band playing funk and R&B.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like and so whatnot. So for you, like when do you think that kind of came together? Was there a specific opportunity that allowed you to do it, or did you have to figure it out on your own?
I really had to. Well, I had someone actually hit me to the idea at first. Shout outs to Theo 3. He's an amazing rapper, and he was kind of like a mentor to me in my early years. I did this hip hop program called Beats to the Streets. It was a drop-in kind of hip hop program for youth 15 to like 24. And a lot of the artists who came in from the TO music scene who are still doing things now and pretty dope, he was one of them. And I kept in contact with him because he was just like a really nice dude. And a few years later, after I moved to Montreal, we reconnected. I was in TO. We went on Spadina, grabbed some lunch, and he was like, "Man, have you ever thought about considering you're studying, jazz, in college and all that, have you ever thought about putting rapping and bass playing together?" And I was like, nah. Pretty much. And I was like, no. Psst. Why? I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do that. Like, who would be crazy enough to try to do that? Like, and then I guess years went by, and it wasn't until I graduated CEGEP college and I got my first contract on a cruise ship that I had a lot of time to myself, and it was 5 sets a night playing other people's music. And so at that moment, I was like, I can write my own music. I for sure I can, because some of the songs are like dun 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 dun, like it you know, real simple stuff. You know, like I could play Elvis all day. You know, with the bass around my head. You know, you know. So I was like, all right, I could write my own stuff. So kind of his voice was in my head about putting the two together, and I was like, well, how do I do that? And so I tried, and it wasn't working. And so I said, okay, hold up, go slow. And so that's, you know, like BPM, you know, down, instead of 100, turn it down to 60, put on the metronome, and really started doing it slow and trying to rap and play bass with the metronome. And I still do that, you know, try to do it every day if I can. So that's kind of how it started. And then since I had a lot of time on the cruise ship during the daytimes after rehearsal, I just kind of was doing that. And the first song on my first EP, Talk About It, that was the first song that I actually composed where I was playing bass and rap at the same time. So,
my God.
Yeah, kind of just, and it was hard because it was like, who do I look up to?
Yeah,
who is there that does that? I'm like, no one.
You're blazing a trail, fam.
So there's like stuff that I have to research how to do, but then kind of customize to my own thing. So shout outs to actually Rich Brown from T.O.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah, shout outs to Rich Brown, monster bass player. And he now has amazing, I always wanted to take a lesson. Rich, I always wanted to take a lesson with you. I'm going to be honest. And now that he's released more videos on YouTube, now I can actually watch them. And some of these questions that I would have had in person, like I get to see his metronome exercises. And so I saw that a few months ago, and I ate them up and started flipping them, being like, let me practice that, but let me add bars to this. Let me rap on top of that. So yeah, just kind of always being open to different things, because there's still not a staple name or someone who does it that like I can look up to. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure it out myself. So,
man, that's crazy. Because sometimes I think about you often, man. And one of the moments that I think about you is when I'm on set on TV as a musical director for a TV show here called Les Poilus. And bruh, and like when I got that call, I was like, holy fuck. This is my second instrument. I'm not like you, huh? You know what I'm saying? Like I play bass. I wasn't even the singer in my band when I came up. We're playing rock. Then we started getting into funk and R&B, and they're just like, yeah, Fredy should sing. You know what I mean? So I fronted my band playing bass all throughout high school. You know, and then I got to Montreal, and I'm meeting James Challenger, Alex Paquette, and I'm like, I guess I'm gonna hold on to this microphone. I'm just gonna keep my day job. You know what I'm saying? And there weren't that many, and male R&B singers is there's a void. So I was just like, I'm gonna go fill that void. You know what I'm saying? And it's whatnot. And so I kind of like let go of the bass a little bit, you know, and it really came thinking. I was just surrounded by these monsters. And I was just
monster
like,
bass players in Montreal.
Yo, monstrous guys. And like, so I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and sing. I'm gonna sing and I'm gonna flow and I'm gonna do this thing. But I started getting connected back to the bass. And then I got the call to be the musical director for the show. And I was like, not just that, but the MD, you know?
Yo, straight up.
And bro, here's what I go through on set. And the first season was like anxiety management. And now it's like, okay, you know, I'm like, Lord, please bestow the powers of Adam Blackstone upon me.
Straight up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I be asking. And it's just like, and fam, this is what happens in terms of the multitasking for bass.
Yeah.
We'll pull up the track. I'm speaking to what they call la régie, you know, the director of the show, who's up here. I have the stage hand in front of me here. I have my boys Calder and Ronnie, and I'm like, okay, Calder, cue click. All right. We're in commercial. I'm having anxiety just describing this. We're in commercial. We're coming back commercial. Okay, Fredy, we're coming back commercial in 10. Okay, make sure, blah, 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 blah. And I'm hearing people overtalk, and then the crowd starts clapping. So I'm hearing 10, 9, 8, 7 with a click that's going like this.
Do you get sweaty hands?
And then a whole lot of people clapping at the same time.
Yeah.
3, 2. I feel like
Oh,
Inspector
snap.
Gadget and this message will self-destruct in 5.
Yo.
4. I feel, and it's like, oh my god, da da da, and then 3, 4, boom, go.
On it.
And then I gotta look here, I gotta look there. Okay, yo, keep it going. Yo, Ronnie, make it bigger, make it smaller. Okay, no, we're not finished. And I gotta talk while I'm playing
Yeah.
and looking at all these things happening. And it's just like, to
It's a
get to
lot.
that, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Water cameras on, you gotta be on point.
But hey, sink or
Yo,
swim.
what?
Right? That's the best way to learn.
Man.
So you wouldn't have got that if you hadn't done it.
Exactly. And it was a sink or swim situation, you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, I
swimming.
went in and I swam. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, first it was a little paddle, it was an ugly paddle at first. But by episode 3, you know, I was on it. I really did my homework and I prepared and I did the discipline. But for me, I think about it. Like, I'll do it when I'm in trio or things, or when I break it down and there's a couple easy songs, you know, My Joy is kind of in the pocket for my tune, you know, and whatnot. But besides that, like I said, I hire the big guns, man, when it's time for Fredy V the Foundation. And I just front. I'm like, I'm done. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not paid enough for this shit. This is too stressful. And because for me, it's the funk vocabulary on bass has fuck all to do with my rhythm in my vocals.
Yeah.
It's completely separate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard part.
It is, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So I'm just like, all right, that's what I have to do. And I'm here bitching as an R&B funk singer.
Yeah.
You're an MC, bro. Yeah. You're verbose.
Yeah.
Your job is rhythm through rhyme.
Yeah, exactly.
Your job is, and so sometimes I'm just like, what would Milla do? Because I'm like, I can't bitch because this dude is actually flowing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And intricate rhymes things and intricate thing and whatnot. So it's just like, for your songs, for example, like when you prepare for your performance, like what is a routine? You're like, okay, I got a show, I got to put this in my hands, I got to put this in the thing. Like, what'll be something that you can do for all you bass players, singers out there who want to jump into our arena?
Yeah.
I know it doesn't sound very.
Well, definitely. You have to, at least for me, I have to like practice like a certain amount every day, like my exercises. And that consists of, you know, like when I started a few years ago, just putting on the metronome and playing the bass lines to my songs and rapping them without like, now I have backing tracks like on my software, so I can do that. But before that, just if the metronome has to groove, I have to be in the pocket with my voice. Everything, if I can't get it on without the metronome on the 2 and the 4, then, you know, there's no point in putting on the track. So that's like the first
you don't
thing.
even double time your shit, dog?
What do you mean?
You said, because you said if it had to be on the 2 and the 4, because you know sometimes people they'll
the
go double time on
yeah,
they'll subdivide
yeah. It depends, but I really believe in the 2 and the 4, or sometimes, you know, 4 beats, you know, but you know, and then I try, if I have it in the pocket enough, then I try to go slower, then I try to go faster, and then I try to go back to regular, just to, so that, because sometimes when the drummer counts it off, sometimes it's faster. So I have to also do my best to, sometimes I'll be like, okay, no, 72 BPM, that's what it is. But but you know, sometimes, you know, you gotta jump in it. So that's what I go through, and making sure to do that all the time. And also what I try to do is just cycle through verses that I have in my head, all while keeping the same bass line. I haven't gotten to the level where I can freestyle and play bass, because that's just like, that's another level. Yeah, I don't know.
That's me.
But it's like, I'll recycle verses that I know over the same bass line that I'm playing, and just to, or different rhythm that I'm playing if I'm working at it, just to get myself accustomed to it and comfortable with it. That's what I do all the time. So, and that really works.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So I kind of want to make a transition, because we're going to get to like your move to Montreal and all that a little bit later. But I want to talk a little bit about the making of your album. And, you know, it's you being an MC, you being a bass player, you being a producer. The reason why I wanted to have an MC on the Gimme the Check podcast, I found it important because, like I said, R&B and hip hop are like this.
Straight up.
And when we listen to your record, man, that joint is so soulful. There's some hooks. It's the vocal arrangements, lyrically speaking and whatnot. And that's when I kind of realized that you did a hell of a job as a producer, along with Christopher Vincent from Busty and the Bass. Shout out to
Yo.
Christopher Vincent, and just you're doing great work, bro,
Yo,
man. Great work.
he's amazing.
Go check out Christopher Vincent and all the projects that he's producing, as well as his group Busty and the Bass. That's killing right now.
For real.
Tracks with Macy Gray and Ting.
Yo.
George Clinton, Ting. Anyway.
Verdine White.
Verdine White and Ting. Anyway, so I want to make a transition and talk about a little bit about the making of your album. Like I said, I really found that it's important to have the MC perspective when it comes to R&B or whatever, because hip hop and R&B are like this, you know? And your record, bro, is so soulful. The hooks that are sang, the melodies, man, and the vocal arrangements. And and I really want to hear, like, now as a producer perspective, you know, what was it like working with the vocalists? And I want to send a shout out to the 3 vocalists that were on his album, who are 2 of them. And I know, first of all, Cloves. Shout out to Cloves, just whose tone is just butter throughout the whole entire record. It's ridiculous. And then afterwards, my guy, my bruh, man, Wayne Tennant. This is like one of my soul brothers from Montreal. We came up together. And then somebody who I don't know, Myrtle Thomas.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the process in studio and what is it like to produce with singers, with R&B singers, soul singers and whatnot, what that was like, what you were looking for? Because basically what I want to give to my audience is being like, you know, as R&B singers, it's like, it's my song and I'm the artist and I'm in front and I'm getting something off of my chest. But sometimes in a lot of projects, you're going to be hired just to come in and to fulfill a role, just like a saxophone player.
Yes, exactly.
Just like a trumpet player, you know?
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that, working with those 3, what you were looking for and how that went down.
Well, I'll start off with Cloves because her involvement, you know, she's my better half and I love her very much. And from the get-go, she was so supportive. She's not only my creative director, photographer, she also came in and did laid scratch tracks for the vocals when some of the artists couldn't make it for the session, and she drove everyone home, helped me cook for everybody. It was like she was the glue that held everybody together, and every team needs someone like that, someone who can play a lot of roles and do everything. Now, when it came to the studio, this was like her first real studio experience.
Word.
And she came in and listened to direction, tried to go outside of her comfort zone, was receptive to criticism, and gave it her best. And I think those characteristics going into studio are very important. You have to leave, like Quincy Jones said, you have to leave your ego at the door.
That's right.
And you have to, there's also, he's something else. But another thing that I try to take from him is, he says the music has to be really good. I'm paraphrasing, but there also has to be room for God to walk in.
That's right. Yeah, right
you
there,
feel me?
Richard. Yes.
You feel me?
That's right.
So the thing is, like, the songs and the arrangements all have to be, at least for me, like, done and cooking. You know, the band's like simmering and everything is good. Like the pot's on the stove and ready to go. It's been simmering for a while. But the magic of allowing people to bring what they bring to the table is also really important. And that's where I feel the record did really well in that way. And that's what I plan to do is just like, I know. So sorry. I'm riffing, man.
Bruh, I'm here for it.
Okay.
I am here for it.
So, yeah, I'll go to Wayne. And I've, been rocking with Wayne for a minute, got to know him very well at Le Cypher. And my very first time at Calmunity, he was so nice to me. And that was the first time we met. And he encouraged me to go on stage. And I'll never forget him, like, at Le Beau Bar, rest in peace. And since then, like, and the first time I heard everybody knows, as soon as you hear Wayne sing, you're just like, who that?
Yup.
From the back of the club, you're like, who that? So Wayne's voice is something else, and he's just an amazing person, all-around person. And Myrtle Thomas, like I was saying, is just my big sister in so many ways. And we got to know each other playing on the cruise ship. And then when we came back to Montreal, we started going to the same church. And from there, she's just been a really solid person in my life and just like a big sister. and so I wanted to include her. And she's just very low key. Um, she can direct the choir. She can play flute, play piano. She's just an all around badass. So if you
Okay.
don't know Myrtle Thomas, you need to know about Myrtle Thomas and hire her for a gig because she's killing it. She's getting her master's right now at McGill University. I'm proud of you, and we love her.
Go ahead, Myrtle Thomas.
Yeah, that's right. So
I know all that.
Yeah, no, she's real low key about it, and she's killing it. But the vocalists, I all know in my life, and I all know that they can deliver. So since I already wrote the melodies, and the lyrics for the songs, it was kind of like, who do I get to fill it in? Whose texture would best fit the song? You know what I mean? So that's where I was operating from. You know, who's gonna do the song most justice? So with Borders, for instance, it's like a rock anthem, but it's soulful, you know? So I
Right.
thought that Myrtle's tone is just a really, she has such a great range and is very full voice. So I was like, that would be really dope if Myrtle could sing that. And I know she can. So, you know, I called her up, you know, and what do you think about this song? And she came and delivered. And just like everybody, like they came and like recording, you have to set, at least for me, you have to set a mood. You have to set a tone. So anywhere I go and record, there has to be good food. So if there's like a party with no good food, if there's a recording session with no food, not every recording session, but this I wanted to make special, you know? I wanted to treat everybody who came in like royalty because I know that they're going to give me 150%. So we, you know, me and Close were cooking up, you know, brought in, you know, some beans, some plantains, some samosas, and, you know, the works. And when the vocalist came in, we had a 2-day session and we just rolled out the carpet for the vocalist. And man, it was something magical because I am not a vocal arranger, you know. A lot of the vocal arrangements, that was Chris Vincent, you know, so shout outs to Chris Vincent. I know where my strengths are. Like I can write for a band, I can, you know, make the beats, I can write all the lyrics, but vocal arrangement, I'm not a horn player. So he approaches it like a trombone player.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's what he really shined on the record. And that is all him. I cannot take that away from him. I got to give him the credit where it's due because I can't do that. You know, I try to like, I have a little harmony. I try to hold on like dear life. I'm not a vocalist in that way. So what Chris, he really unlocked the potential of a lot of the vocalists, and he was cooking up vocal arrangements on the spot. You know, you sing that and you sing that, and it came together, and everyone was like, okay, we don't know how it's gonna sound, and then you hear it back in the headphones, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, I've had that experience once, but when it's just you're a singer, but like it's just you're lending your voice and you just got to follow directions.
Exactly.
And then you seeing an arranger or producer be like, okay, or like, oh, okay, I'm gonna follow you.
Yep.
And then the dude's like going into Rain Man mode, and you kind of like, okay, and then you look at the other singer or whatever, and be like, I have no idea what this motherfucker doing right now, but I trust, and I'm here to fulfill and then you come out the booth, and then it's like, bam, and you're like, that's what was in your head.
Yeah, that's what
bro?
I'm saying. Like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. But in terms of you, I understand, and thank you for really like breaking down that process. Like y'all, like that's why I brought him here. He's an MC bass player, but he just really broke down very important key processes or key moments in the process of vocal producing. Okay, we are going to talk about this again in the Gimme the Check podcast. Vocal producing, we need to get better at that in here. Like everybody, this is a thing. Like people do just that. Shout out to Taylor Parks, Victoria Monet, you know, all these type of, you know what I mean, artists and producers that just do just that. This is a thing, and those are the things you said. So Chris Vincent did vocal arrangements because he's a horn player and whatnot.
Yes.
But what you did is very important too, which is like what I find, which is the choices that a producer makes. That's very important, which is choosing texture.
Oof.
Whose voice goes on what track. That is so important to be able to decipher that. And when you're in a blessed position to actually have resources where you have a bunch of different singers and between Cloves, Wayne, and Myrtle, it's like I hear the difference in those with those three singers.
Yeah.
You can cover the gamut.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so it's like here's my theory on production. I'm starting nerding. I know I'm supposed to interview you, but just
tell me.
For me, production is like a holy trinity. Okay? Which is over here, you have the song. The song's got to be bomb. You could just play with the guitar, just play with a piano, sing it, flow it, whatever. That's the song. Then you get the texture, the producer, who really texturizes the song. That's what producing a song means. Is it just going to be keyboard and vocal? Are you going to do a big band thing and put strings and arrangements on it? Is it more rock and roll? What's the texture? What's the sound on it? And then the tip of it is the voice, the artist, the actual person that is interpreting on it. And the job of a producer, I find, is to make that holy trinity happen, to get the right artist with the right producer and the right song, and make that happen, and know when to work and know when to get the fuck out the way.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
And that's what it seems that you did. You had the song and you wrote the song. You even got your texturizer, and you and Chris Vincent on the production working together to kind of texturize it and whatever. And then you two be able to choose and being like, no, this is the sound that goes with that. And those choices are crucial.
Very much so.
And I find it to be almost, it's not an exact science. How do you teach that?
No,
it's something that's, I don't know. Talk to me about that.
You just gotta listen to a lot of stuff.
Yep.
You gotta listen to the greats. Like I'm sorry, but a lot of artists, I'm not impressed by, because they're not deep. There's no depth to their vocabulary of where they're drawing inspiration from. Just because you put auto-tune on something, just because everyone's doing it, but where are you coming from? Who has done it before you? Are you doing them justice? So my thing is that everyone has to do their homework and do their research. And from doing that by synthesis, you will acquire vocabulary yourself.
Right.
And draw inspiration. It's like, for this record, the two records that I drew most inspiration from were To Pimp a Butterfly and The Dude by Quincy Jones.
Ooh, what?
So okay. and what I did was that I wanted to, when I listen to records like that, I'll get out my notebook and I'll write out the form of the song. How many bars for this section? How many bars? Why do I like this section? What is the arrangement that the horns are doing? And I'll break it down. That's a way that makes sense to me. And then I'll try to, I'll go to the keyboard. I'll learn what the harmonies are, what the chords are, all that. And being able to do that, having those skills just means that you're able to break down a song. And if I could copy it, but I don't want to do that. You have to make it you. So sure, those records I was really influenced by, especially To Pimp a Butterfly, because records like that are timeless.
Yeah, man.
They're only going to get better with time, and they're going to inspire other generations, and that's really what I'm about.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful, man. Shout out to you. Thank you for really giving it, because that's what I want this podcast to be, a little bit, to talk about, the nerdy shit, like Chris Vincent was, and also that, what you just said. So I kind of want to make the transition to Montreal. You moved to Montreal, and I pretty much have this thing that I do for every single episode, which is to talk about the state of R&B in Montreal, Quebec, and in Canada. But we can kind of open it up and talk really about hip hop as well too. Yeah. And really, I would love to hear your take, because I always say, I'm like, Canadian R&B is on the rise internationally. Yes. And Montreal seems to be the next city. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We're poised.
OK Player thing. We got so many dope R&B acts that are coming out from our city. Too many to even start naming, because if I don't shout out somebody, I'm gonna get in trouble. So you know what I'm saying?
That's
what it is. But I know that there's some people from Montreal that are going to check into this, and there's some people outside of Montreal, outside of Quebec, and outside of Canada. And I want to explain to them what the phenomenon of being an artist here and in Canada, and the difference between Canada, Quebec, and Montreal. But there's something that's very particular about Quebec, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to R&B, and that there's one fact. Je m'excuse encore. I ain't trying to be, but c'est juste, c'est des faits. It's facts. It's facts. The category of R&B does not exist in Quebec. I repeat, the category of R&B does not exist in Quebec. So we have an emerging R&B scene, but where we are from, the genre itself does not have a platform. So I wanted to see, like, what are your thoughts on that and this, just the phenomenon of, you know, being an artist from Montreal, because that's different from being a Montreal artist, and you know what I'm saying, and Quebec and Canada, because I know the world sees Daniel Caesar and Lisa Cara and all these amazing
Shout
acts
outs
are
to
coming
them.
out. Shout out to them, and they're opening doors and,
Straight up.
things are happening and moving.
Yep.
And the world is starting to understand what's going on here. But
Exactly.
at home, we're facing something completely different. What's
we
your
are.
thoughts on that?
Well, I guess it makes sense to break it down into the Montreal scene, the Quebec scene, and then the Canadian scene.
Exactly.
So I'll start off with the Montreal scene, and I've been here a little over 10 years now. I came in 2009, and I was studying at Concordia. And the first difference and part of the reason why I moved to Montreal as opposed to staying in Toronto was Toronto's not a live music city the way Montreal is. Sorry, T.O., I love you, but it's true. And if you don't know, now you do. All the Toronto mans just need to hop on a mega bus, not right now. But
yeah, please don't come
and come to Montreal so you can see what it is, because this type of culture doesn't exist in Toronto the same way. You can't have sessions and places for musicians to grow like Calmunity and Cypher and Cafe Soul, like Jello Lounge, and so many staples that are breeding grounds for the next generation and for up and coming musicians and places like that. That just, because the nature of the city, it's so expensive, and just the fact that a lot of people don't appreciate live music, that is already in itself a recipe for something else. And that's something I noticed very young. And so the very first few times I came into Montreal, I noticed that there was an appreciation for that. So I was like, well, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna go to Montreal. And not to mention just all the heavy musicians that are here in Montreal. Not to say that Toronto doesn't. There's a lot of great musicians in TO, but just the culture, that intergenerational space where the young bucks are coming up, but the old heads are like, nah, look here real quick. This is how you do it. You're good, but you need to learn this. That's what I was looking for. And that's what I was missing. I couldn't find in Toronto.
Perspective, man.
But I knew that's what I needed. I needed mentorship. I needed guidance. I needed the older cats to show me how to be better, how to be great. So when I came here, I could sense that I could get that here. And Montreal is such a diverse city already. There's so many small scenes within scenes. Like, I remember playing some gigs with some like Senegalese world music artists, and having a gig and putting on the robes, and playing like desert blues, and it was something else. And that we are very lucky to have that. So many different scenes. Like there's these underground like noise like parties where dudes are just like jamming out to pedals, like with stuff like ambient loops, and it's like noise music. Like there's no chord. It's like what is going on?
Facts.
And it's like you have such a richness of music, and that is so lucky to have. Like folks from Montreal who go anywhere. It's a reason why Montreal, people come all over the world to Montreal, like to be part of the music scene. Like big artists who are looking for inspiration come to Montreal. Like Potato Head people, Pomo, Mac DeMarco, like all have like spent time in Montreal. They might not have stayed like but they got inspiration here and they took it to where they needed to get to. So shout outs to Montreal for just being that city. And rent. You know, it's a 4-letter word, rent.
Fam.
So
Yo, cost of living is that. I mean, for an artist to have a fertile ground, cost of living is the beginning, man. And that's another
Exactly.
thing too, for artists and for me, like we talk a lot of like about like, mental wellness and things like that in our artistic community and whatnot. And especially in hip hop, you must know this. And I come up
Yeah,
as
yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
like struggling artist. Feel I don't need a quality of life. I'm gonna bum it out. I'm gonna do it in what it is.
Yeah.
But to actually be somewhere where you can actually live and create, but actually have what you need. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when you have that, it puts you in a mind space to be able to create healthily.
Exactly. So when you can play, things have gotten a little out of hand in the last few years, but in general, like rent is something like $800 average cheaper than Toronto, something like that. Like just that $800, you don't have to work a 40-hour job a week just to live. You know what I mean? And that's huge. It's why there's so many good musicians, is because that extra time you can dedicate to your craft to get really good. And that's, again, why there's so many killing players. And also the CJAPs really help, I find. That kind of in-between level between high school and university. Like, for instance, when I was 19 and I came to Montreal, I got rejected from every music school I applied for. I was this close to giving up, but I was like, my dad gave me two choices. He's like, you can either stay here and pay your rent, or you can leave. So I was like,
That's a clear choice.
I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm out. So packed my bags for Montreal, and that's how I got here. Now, in terms of the Quebec kind of, I didn't, because Montreal's a bubble, and I didn't really have that much experience with the rest of Quebec, and I still don't. But from my brief and little experience of playing with other bands who have traveled Quebec more, and me getting to travel with them, it's the same type of issue that the rest of Canada faces. And that's just because demographics. If you're outside of a large urban city, it's majority white. And we play black music, and this is black culture. And so it's just not understood the same way. And just being just real and honest. It's not to say like it's bad, but that's just what it is.
Demographic
So
is facts, yeah.
it's just demographics, and it's the reason why a lot of artists leave to go stateside or go overseas. But things are changing, in the last 10 years since, love him or hate him, Drake, you got to give credit where it's due. He opened the doors for all of us, and eyes are now on Canada. Now, in terms of the Quebec specifically, I was on tour with a band called Liquor Store. Shout outs to Liquor Store.
What up,
Love you
boy?
guys. And we played a jazz fest in Lévis, Quebec. And it was my first time there. And the closing show, the big event, we played a small stage, like not the main stage. We played a smaller stage, But they write amazing music. The Felix Leblanc, a great songwriter composer.
I call him the Rod Temperton
Straight up.
of Montreal. He could be the Rod Temperton. And it's funny because I told him, I was like, Felix, you could be the Rod Temperton. He's like, who's that? I was like, you know him.
Yeah, that's it. You
know him.
You know him.
But go check it out. And then next time we saw each other, he was like, bro, thank you. I was like, nah, fam.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
Yeah.
that's shout out.
That's the level.
Shout out. That's the level.
That's a level.
Yeah.
And when I was playing with them, the main act of the evening was a Amy Winehouse tribute. And for me, it just didn't make sense. I'm like, this is a jazz festival. And I'm not a jazz snob, but if you're going to call it a jazz festival and then have Amy Winehouse tribute as the closing act.
Wow.
For real? So I don't know. There's I guess what I've noticed is there's a certain, maybe I just noticed this because I've traveled a lot of different places, but there's a certain whatchamacall, I'm at a loss for words. Like a lot of the tribute shows, like paying homage shows.
Oh man, covers, bro.
And covers and this and that. And that's seems to be how people get, pay their bills, and that's fine. But it seems to be that is almost preferred to original music.
Oh.
And that's what I don't understand sometimes, because I guess maybe it's a cultural thing that I don't know because of where I come from. But I noticed that, and I don't want to shit on anybody, but you have such amazing musicians in this provinces and songwriters. I really hope that a lot of these artists get international acclaim, so that the province of Quebec can really be like, look, we have all this amazing talent. Let's switch our mentality, instead of like the dinner supper, like playing Motown and all these homage tribute shows, to like bringing up the local scene and folks who are doing original music,
Bruh.
That's what I would like to see in the next few years, and some of the things I've seen.
You tap dancing all over my triggers and my PTSD. Because, oh my God. Well, first of all, let me say that it's such a breath of fresh air to hear your perspective from somebody who's born and raised in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And from your perspective, be it hip hop, jazz, soul, R&B, whatever it is, he just told you what we have, what is beautiful. And a lot of people from Montreal, they look, especially in R&B and in hip hop, they look to Toronto.
Yeah.
And we have an MC whose record is playing nationally right now, but he did it right here. And he's saying, look what we got here.
Yep.
And something that he couldn't find in Toronto. So I want you guys to remember what he said. And let's go to, in terms of what you were talking about, in terms of the homage culture, the cover culture. I'm like, yo, you saying this in the right spot, because I know everybody in Moonsun right now is just like, preach, like, because we know that game, and private events and whatnot, and they don't hire the original artists, they hire what we hear. So us as R&B singers, here's something that you guys need to understand. As R&B singers in Montreal, Quebec, if you want to make a living off of your skill, the best way of making a living, pre-pandemic, the best way of making money off of your skill is to sing at private events. And usually that repertoire is pop and R&B for the most part. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's Ed Sheeran, Shape of You, it's still fucking R&B. It's TLC suit 'em. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it is. And so that's the opportunities that we have here, and it's just covers and covers and covers. At a jazz festival, the headlining act was a tribute to Amy Winehouse.
That's right.
The headlining act of a jazz festival, which is supposed to be about having jazz and originality, and even if it's not jazz snobs, it's just about original music and whatnot. But there's a huge culture in here, and I had the producer of that group, Child, Pierre Lucron, who really brought it down here in terms of the history of Quebec and how it's really singer-songwriter, and that's how it came about. And he really enumerated. I was like, thank you for saying that, and it's true. But as time goes by, you know what I mean. That's why I can't accept anymore that R&B is not a category here, because y'all love that shit.
That's right.
Because you really love it, but you don't want to discover something new. You rather do it. So for me, I always do it to the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store and you go to the cheese section, you know what I'm saying? If you don't do dairy, my bad. We can go fruits and strawberries. Let's say strawberries. For you, you know what I'm saying? You got the strawberries from the States, and then you got the Quebec strawberries. And it may be a little more expensive, but you can be like, you know what? I'm going to buy local. Je vais acheter local. Je vais acheter local. Cheese is the same thing. I see Swiss cheese from Switzerland and whatnot, and I see Quebec. Yo, Quebec Swiss cheese is dope.
Yo.
And it's a bit more expensive, but I put something on it because it's from here.
Yep.
And it's the same mentality for it. Like, I've been in the film and TV game here and doing music for that, and they will place an R&B song in the thing, say, we don't have money to write the rights for it. Can you please reproduce something like that? I'm like, I can show you 20 artists right now that have songs that fit that. And you could just take the song and invest and buy local.
it's
And
like,
so that's why
why
I can't accept
yeah,
it anymore.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm so glad that you said it, because you're the only guest who really like brought it. And bruh, that's my come up here, and that's how
Yeah.
my bones here with covers and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And
And you need that. Like,
and
there's good in that, but
yeah.
it's if you want, do you want to be remembered for doing the imitation of something or for doing the real thing?
And that's what I told him when I was like stepping out into original music and just saying this is something that, I'm not gonna necessarily do anymore. Is like a lot of these bands that were really trying to come at me, and I was like, I'm on another thing right now. Who knows? Maybe, in 15 years I don't know, because
Yep.
it brought me a lot. I know my songbook. I know my music. I know my
Straight up.
catalog. And that really gave me, and as a songwriter, producer, it did so much for me, because I
Yeah.
know what a good song is.
Exactly.
So you know what I'm saying? So in that sense, I really give praises to that. But for me, what I told those people to the cover bands, it was just like why I was on a different path, and I'm going really into the recording industry. I'm like, I want you to cover my song.
Straight up.
I want my
Why
song
not?
to be part of the repertoire of the cover band. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
the cover band. I want my song. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want somebody in 20 years. I want to walk into a wedding and see some young kids or a wedding band and people that are really getting their chops up. So like, we're going to be in this cover band, so we can really get our chops up before going to somewhere. And they play a Fredy V song. I would cry. I would cry.
Yeah.
So I don't regret my path, but there is this thing that it kind of gets to me, that I'm like, y'all love R&B, but y'all only like it when it's a cover, but you don't like it when the person doesn't, either A, doesn't look like you, or B, you know what I'm saying, you're not sure where it's from or whatnot. And that's what I can't accept. And as a black man that's fronting an Anglo R&B and funk band, these are the obstacles that I have. And while I was
Absolutely.
singing covers all around Quebec, I performed in front of blackface 3 times
Oh, snap.
in this
Damn.
decade, fam.
Oh, shit.
In this decade. So when I'm speaking facts. I'm speaking from experience, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, and y'all are gonna start hearing my stories, and I ain't gonna hide it, whatever. I done this province at least 4 or 5 times. At least 4 or 5 times. And that's how I fed my babies for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And that's what some of the shit that I was going through when I was in those places. You know what I mean? And then I get back here and I'm seeing these dope artists, but at the same time I'm seeing like Valère in Qualité Motel. I'm seeing Louange. I'm seeing these other things, and I'm seeing that kid from Trois-Rivières who's bumping R&B.
Yep.
I'm seeing that kid from Sherbrooke that's, because first it was hip hop.
Yep.
Because Rap Keb really took its place here. And now I think it's time for R&B. So I'm
Straight up.
I'm
Why
hoping
not?
that these discussions and these podcasts and these places will just familiarize people with what it is, and what happened with Rap Keb in Quebec, the same thing can happen for R&B, because
hope so.
hip hop and R&B,
That's right.
I like this, man. I like this. So, yo, man, listen, I think we are coming towards an end, guys. I was going to do a little trivia with him, but it's going to be next time. It's going to be next time, no doubt. Milla, I want to give you your flowers right now. You have always been there for me. I'll never forget the It Takes a Village launch. You know what I was going through in my life when I put that album out.
Yeah.
And you always had my back. I know you too, you had obstacles as well too in the city, and we really related a lot on that. And to see you just spread your wings, bro, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, man.
I'm happy for you. I'm rooting for you. And you are in a position to be able to connect this entire country with black culture, black music, black excellence, and just it's just good vibes, man. Because you have an understanding of jazz, you have an understanding of hip hop, you have an understanding of R&B and blues and soul and whatnot, and you just are. So this is why this guy is so special, and he came onto this podcast, which is like, a R&B type of joint, but this dude just is. And if y'all want to know about emerging Canadian artists, man, this is just the perfect example right now. This is the perfect example. So Milla Thyme, thank you for blessing us with your presence, man. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're looking out, man. So this has been the Gimme the Check podcast. I'm your host, Fredy V. Stay blessed and highly favored. We out.